all after this year. So clearly we're dealing with something that's just inhumanity. If I'm standing here for any reason at all, it's because I have some experience of how this works. I'm a social worker by background. I was heading up the closure of Lennox Castle Hospital near Glasgow back in the 90s. And in that situation, everyone had to leave the hospital. There were no exceptions. And we were helping all the individual people, whatever their character, and there was a wide range of characteristics amongst the folk there. It was possible to move everyone from that hospital environment to a community setting. Some better than others, it has to be said, but nothing comparable to what we've just been through. So the first thing is, we know that this can be done. Whoever the person is, whatever the reputation, whatever damage has been done to them by the system. Some people we helped to leave who were, I don't know, in their 80s, and they've been in there since they were 20. So, first thing, it's we've forgotten that we did that. And there's a lack of competence in the system. Secondly, apart from being inhumane, there's actually no good grounding or practical, theoretical basis for doing it, for what we're doing. So we had a colleague who were working at Lennox Castle Hospital as a professor from the University of Kent, and he had written, and is still the only person who's written the kind of definitive policy statement. Make some pictures.
Well, you've got it. Have you? Oh, okay, you have got it. Okay, sorry.
So this guy you're about to see, he died 10 years ago. He has written the definitive policy statement for the UK about people who have learning disability and or autism and who present challenged behaviour. And this is his name's Jim Mansell, as I say, he died 10 years ago. He had to write this report twice. He wrote this report early 90s, and he had to repeat it about 15 years later, because no one, and it's still the case, no one's listening. This is what he said when the scandal broke about, what was that place again? Winterburn View, yes. He said, it's the wrong model of care. So it's like, there's no good reason for doing it, it's the reverse. You're doing something that is contrary to good practice, contrary to human needs, contrary to what will work for people if you use this model of care. And he said, there's no quick fix, but you'll read there that his recommendation, whoever you are, and whatever reputation you have, and whether you've got a forensic label attached to you or whatever, the answer is having your own home in the community with the right kind of support around you. So, the system we've heard about is like the emperor with no clothes, the emperor's new clothes. They have no validity to what they do. And that we need to use that, I think, as a powerful tool. So you can look up the Mansell report from back in the day. It's still never been replaced, and it does support all that we want to do around human rights, individuality, community care. We've always known since the 80s, and this is another argument we have to deploy, we've always known since the 80s that for every person in an institution, there was an equivalent person living in the community. So there isn't a group of people who need institutions. We've known that, but we ignore it for whatever reason. So, starting points then, as we've heard, separation, the disastrous effects, and we have some responsibility to do something about it. Whether people affected as the folk we've heard about today, whether we're citizens more generally, or those of us who are professionals, have a responsibility for doing something about it. So it is personal. There's a basic humanity issue at stake here. As citizens, we need to insist that people's human rights are respected and implemented, and if we're professionals, we need to argue for best practice rather than for this continuance of bad practice because it suits us or it suits our profession, or we don't want to upset the apple cart. So everyone can look. The other thing here is that basically we're talking about people who are homeless. They're written off as people who cannot have their own home. Now that's contrary to human rights. Everyone can have their own home. All you need is the correct kind of support round about you to make that work. And the arguments for having your own home are rooted in the Convention on Human Rights, Article 8. And it's really important that when people do get their own home, they get security of tenure and that their housing arrangements are separated from their support arrangements. If we can ever get to that stage with the folk we're thinking about today. So, one of the core things here is that, and go back to my Lennox Castle story, everyone had to leave. The hospital was closing. It wasn't a place you could continue to live in. You weren't going to be transferred to another hospital. So, for that reason alone, and all sorts of other reasons around human justice, we need to be insisting that all means all. There's no one excluded from this. There's no one designated in such a way that they must be in hospital for the rest of their lives. There's no valid argument for that either in terms of good practice or human rights. And I think part of what we have a problem with is there's something out there called the readiness model. So we'll get someone ready to the point where they can leave hospital. And we'll force them to jump through all sorts of hoops. And that will take 54 years or 18 months or whatever length of time it's going to take. It's no way to work with them. We need to start with the person as they are. We need to help that person move and provide the support around them as they are. In the next slide. So it's like come as you are, and we're here to support you. We're not going to wait till you've learned to do this or stop doing that, or we'll support you in the context that we find you. You may have only been in for 6 months, you may have been in for 16 years. Our job is to support the person we find and to miss out this long interim period where nothing happens and things get worse. So, Mansell said, around at that time of Winterbourne Review, the real solution is to stop using these kinds of places altogether. Yeah. But then he poses a challenge to us. Who will hold local health and social services to account to make that happen? And there's a whole range of people who have responsibility for that, but it includes us. It includes the wider society, and it certainly includes professional people. So that's our challenge, I think. The arguments are on our side. Social justice arguments are on our side. The good practice arguments are on our side. We just need to make sure that we're holding the powers that be accountable in an effective way. And how do we do that, I guess, is one of the questions for today. So that's currently the organisation I work for. We do a lot of consultancy, but we do a lot of advocacy work with families around the Self-Directed Support Act and difficulties people have in implementing it. Some of the people we're working with at the moment are folk who are either threatened with institutionalisation or needing help to get help. So, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Right, thanks for that. Apologies for technical difficulties. This is probably me. I've never used this one for a presentation before. So, just what I want to just check is anybody got any questions, anything, points that what John's just shared has brought up for them? Is that stuff you already knew, or is it helpful? What does it make you think of? Ewan?
Yeah, I wanted to, there's, first of all, a question, there's themes, right, first of all, I've gone through things not in the hospital as an outpatient, but the same themes, but not so extreme. If that's putting that sensitively, I'm not sure if I'm, okay, so the first question, when the first gentleman talked, the first thing that came to mind was, and please tell me if I'm right or wrong, I wasn't sure, it was the hospital to me was basically dismissing the, is that you over there? Was dismissing you as parents and saying, oh there you are, hello. The impression you were giving me is you are practically being almost dismissed as, that boy is your son, he's your family, and you gave me the impression they were pretty well dismissing you to the point of rudeness and insulting.
That's correct. I mean,
And I just thought that was highly, if that's how I interpreted it correctly, to me that was highly offensive and a real act.
we're the difficult parents.
Yeah.
So we're the difficult parents. We're the problem.
Yeah, well,
No,
so it's
let's
easier-
say it's like the problems are not yours, the problem lies with them, and they are the problem.
And you know, they put the phone down on us. If we
Yeah.
challenge them, we're shut down. We're investigated by social workers for our guardianships. We are, you know, so that's just locked out
That's shocking.
for being
yeah.
for being threatening to the staff. Well, I can assure you, Karen and I are the least threatening people, but you know, if you start putting your child in a minute, then you know, I will fight and continue to fight. But yeah, I just find this report, it's just like we really haven't been going
Okay.
on.
Thinking about that, just to answer that before you go to your next one, yeah?
Right, okay, I'll let you
Was
talk
just,
first.
thank you. So essentially one of the things about that, and we do have to recognise, is that when you've said what you're trying to say, and when you're saying the stuff that makes sense and that nobody's listening to, at a certain point you do get frustrated, and then you become more emotional, and too many people have been branded as being unhelpful or angry because of that.
And that's something I identify very strongly
Yeah.
with.
So that it's easy to, and some of the language that we use to describe people who are locked up and the families are, we've offered choice, but he refused it. Did you offer him something that he actually wanted to do? So to be honest, sorry, Ewan, what's the next point?
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. When you separate the son in that relationship, you're already starting to create a problem. So I was saying to someone today, if I went into Carstairs and I'd gone through a whole mental, they would probably give me a problem rather than the other way around. They would give me mental health issues. But okay, that was the one question. But the other question, or the thing is, and identifying the theme, and I wanted to back up what I've done, is I agree with, is ultimately, I've been in a hospital as an outpatient. Nothing is extreme because that's absolutely horrifying, disgusting to me, the treatment. Is the doctors, ultimately, the police, and I'm from Aberdeen, the police would go to the hospital and they put referrals. So the doctor, technically, in that hospital, as I was an outpatient, was the top man, the power. He had more power than anyone. So it's important. Okay. So for example, I had police notes of concern, but they were handed to a junior person who was scared of the chief doctor. But the theme that I recognise here is accountability. we changed the law so you can get an apology from a hospital, but you're not allowed to use that in court. So if you're going to go to court, but it just seems to me, because they are all powerful, in my view, my experience, it's very hard to get them to listen and also get comeback. It's hard to do. And also, the other thing is, right, I'm 56 now. Up till the age of 39, I got diagnosed autistic. I lived relatively happily to the age of 45. And then I transitioned to a new home. And I needed help with communication. And it got messy. I'm not going to go into the story because I don't like blame. There's not blame, it's a communication issue. But basically, I ended up in the hospital, and I would make clear to, and this is, Alistair supports me now, but I had the hospital, I've had social workers before, all absolutely useless. And I would say to them, all I need to help, communication. Simple as that. So they could have helped me communicate, then given me a safe home, that would have been it finished. But what happened was they ignored me. So eventually I'm going up the wall, then one support, and basically, so basically what I'm saying is, I've got that same theme. I was getting on relatively okay life, they destroyed me, the comeback beat, and I feel the system saying, okay, sorry, I'm going on. What I would say is, no doctor's expected to know everything. But the system should say, okay, when you go to the system, say, right, this is what the guy needs, this is the help, we actually know better than the doctor, and the doctor still ignores you, you can't deal with someone like that. Okay.
Thank you,
But if I get
that's a really good point, thank you.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so there's issues about power and accountability are the two main things that come into for that.
Exactly, that's the two
And
things.
as well as the communication. Right, it's been a long day, so why don't folk take a 5 minutes, grab another cup of tea and coffee, if there's any left, and then we'll come back with Julie. Okay.